Welcome back to the Apprentice 1-to-1 podcast. It's me, Mark, and as you'll see, we're out on location today. It's not over Zoom. I'm with the awesome guys from TIS. So we've got Steve Hayes and Mark Hodgson. How are you both, gents? First up.
I'm okay, thank you.
All good, Mark, thank you.
Yeah. No, thanks for inviting us in. So we're here to do a bit of a tour around TIS's facility, which we're doing as some separate content. So go over and check that out on my YouTube channel. And we thought we'd have a chat with the guys as well about their background in the industry and also the story of TIS, because I think it's a message to industry that perhaps doesn't get heard enough of what you guys actually do. Yeah. So first up, Steve, if I can start with you, how did you come into the electrical industry first and foremost? How long have you been knocking around in this game?
Well, I'm 47 now for my sins, and I got into the industry when I was 16. So I started at City Electrical Factors, or CEF as it's known now, just sweeping up and tidying up the warehouse and built my way up the CEF ladder. Ended up with CF for 21 years. Wow. And then obviously, as you know, TIS is a family business. My dad unfortunately had a heart attack, so to give Mark a bit of a hand, I left CF all on good terms to help with TIS.
So you've been involved in the family business now for 10-15 years?
Yeah, I think I'm 12 or 13 years now. Yeah.
So you've put a shift in. It's fair to say.
I've lost my hair. I did have hair at CF. But yeah.
So it's interesting. So with the CF, was you kind of on a branch counter then, or was you in like a sales management role?
Yeah, so I started in a branch, and like I say, I was serving on the counter. Then I ended up buying at CEF. I've been out sales repping with CEF. I've managed branches, managed 2 or 3 branches, and I was actually a regional group manager at CEF as well, which is where I left in Warrington to start with TIS.
So you've kind of seen it all then, I guess.
I've done pretty much every job, at CEF. Yeah, I've done it all.
It's interesting. Yeah. So Mark, what about yourself? How long have you been knocking around this industry?
Yeah, well, I started working in electrical instrumentation for Edgecombe Instruments back in 1989. Edgecombe, incidentally, some people know it as Metro. Yeah. But they were the very first people to bring a pat tester to market, a commercial pat tester to market, even before the electricity at work regulations were even heard of. So I started life at Edgecombe Instruments, bumped into Steve's dad, fortunately, in 1991. And we together worked for CEF's in-house instrument company, which is now known as MTI.
Okay.
So yeah, that's where I met Steve's dad, Malcolm.
So you were the founding partners with Malcolm then for the inception of the business.
We Malcolm's dad and I got great ideas in 1998, and we brought Matrel into the UK actually back then. So that's our background.
Yeah.
And then there's a misconception that TIS is actually a new brand, but we formed the company in 2006.
Yeah.
17 years ago now. So we've been trading for 17 years, and so we brought TIS to market back then.
That was one of the things I wanted to kind of cover in the content I'm making around this visit, is you guys are not a new brand to industry.
No.
I think some people tend to assume that because it's quite a well-established marketplace to disrupt, if you like.
Yeah.
So building up to where you are now has taken a length of time. It's not something you can just rock up and say,
no,
we're going to compete with these big companies selling MFTs and other bits and pieces. So I guess it's taken a while to get that brand recognition and step up into that marketplace. How have you found that journey from 2006 to today?
It's tough. It's a long, hard road. You've got to gain that end user trust, because I think there is a bit of a stigma in the test equipment world that someone new comes along and people have not got confidence in the brand. So it was about, getting product in people's hands, making sure that you've got good products, good features and benefits, something that's a little bit different from what's out in the market as well is important. So we've tried to look down that avenue, not just bring a voltage tester out that everybody else does. So yeah, that's what we've had to do, and it's probably the last 3 or 4 years that people now really are recognising TIS as a good brand in the UK.
And dare I say, you've also got to be man enough to be able to admit when you've got things wrong and be able to change things as well.
Yeah, and we've done that through the 17 years as well, without a doubt.
Oh, of course, 17 years without a mistake is dreamland,
isn't
it?
Yeah, exactly.
It's not realistic. I think it's how you deal with it.
Exactly.
We see it contracting. Like if you've done something wrong, it's how you react to it. Yeah. Rather than trying to run away and hide from something, if you front it up and you hold your hands up and put it right, that speaks volumes for you as a company, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I mean, it is interesting to see your growth, and I became aware of you. I think it was through David Savory, actually. In fairness, on YouTube, and I'd had issue with a particular brand of MFT where a couple of years in it had gone faulty, and there was the repair costs associated with it. And I'd kind of dismissed some of the other brands around, some of the big names that you would hear, and it was I saw Davo using it. I thought, we'll give that a try. 3-year warranty, 3-year calibration. Speak about the MFT Pro Plus, you're kind of backing the product at the point of sale that you do that. And I've not been disappointed. It's a really good product, and it's an award-winning product, I believe, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It won the EVSE best tester of 2021. 2021, yeah, it was, yeah. And it won the PE a top product award in 2021. So yeah, it got a multi award that year, which has been great. And I think the EV side of the market has really lifted to the MFT Pro and that kit and what it does into orbit, sort of thing. So
that's what sold it into us, because obviously people are more familiar with testing than others. I think that the TIS MFT Pro with the help menu, I think you were one of the first to come out with that, combining the two systems together, where it takes you through the adjustments of where your probes need to be and what some of the values need to be. That's really helpful for us as electricians, because it's been a steep learning curve for us as well. It's totally different, and the fact that's built into the product is really quite useful.
Yeah,
so
we've had that feedback, haven't we, a lot from contractors, because they're going out to the first install of an EV, and they're a little bit nervous. They don't know what they're doing. Everyone's learning, and to put that auto sequence on and tell people what's what has been a real game changer for people.
Yeah, the touch screen as well has been good, Mark, as well, and removing all of the moving parts. You'll see downstairs in the lab that we've also, not only do we calibrate, but we repair other people's. And a lot of the time it's water and it's dust ingression getting into moving parts and dials. Yeah. So the advantage that we've got with our MFTs is we've removed all that. It's touch screen, it's push button, it's sealed behind it. So we try to eradicate what we've seen of our experiences in the repair lab and think other people's stuff coming back to us.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things we should touch on, that you do the calibration and the repair work, so you get to see a lot of the problems from electricians dropping them off steps to some of the other failings that another manufacturer might have with particular components, and you can kind of react and develop your products based on that, can't you?
Yeah, 100%, yeah.
So I mean, you see that with the ruggedized case on the MFT Pro, and it's runs through the range as well, so we've got the solar products here as well, and that's a new emerging space now, so you're kind of involved in that market too. Is that a new space you're excited about? Are you seeing growth there already?
It's been massive. I mean, when obviously when we were in lockdown and COVID came around, the EV thing really kicked off, and we couldn't really cope with demand. We've come out of COVID now, and all of a sudden we've got, unfortunately, the cost of living problem, and we're back on with people installing solar panels to get around that, battery storage, etc. So 2021, 2022 has seen a massive uptick in everything related to testing solar panels. We've had a big learning curve with it as well. For instance, we know that people can use their MFT for testing the AC side of an installation, but what we've got on the right hand side here, the orange stuff if you like, is equipment for testing the DC side of the solar installation for MCS compliance. Because the big thing with a panel is obviously when it picks up daylight it becomes live, and that's a problem to standard instruments. They will stop you carrying out that test because it's seeing a live supply, whereas the particular solar PV testing equipment, it will work live. Even some of our stuff up to 1500 volts, would you believe, it'll still allow you to carry out an insulation test on a live 1500 volts array. So yeah, it's good stuff, it's needed. We need to also check for short circuit current, open circuit voltage, to check that the power output from the panels is as it should be. So yeah, we've got the AC side and now we've got the DC side that we need to be looking at.
So you've adjusted your offering to match the market demand in a way, haven't you?
Yeah.
So what we're doing as electricians, and you're seeing exactly the same thing, but from a different point of view with the equipment you're offering.
Right place, right time.
Yeah,
we've been lucky, but
there is a lot of that. It's often the case, isn't it? You get yourself in the right place at the right time. So is this a range of products then? Is there different offerings, or is it just one?
It's a range of products. So obviously with our partner HT Italia in Italy, have been doing solar for a lot longer than we have in the UK. So yeah, it's a big offering, and there's more to come. So the PV checks is the multi-function of the DC side. So that, as Mark says, does the open circuit voltage and short circuit current. We've also got maintenance type testers as well. So the PV ISO test, which is on the table there. For instance, if you had a farmer's field full of strings and there was a problem, it's got a GFL locator, so it's ground fault locator. You can put in how many strings or how many panels are in there. So 500, push the button, sends a signal out into the field, and it'll actually come up and say number 74.
Wow.
So instead of testing each individual string, you can push the button and then go straight to that problem. Find out there's either water ingress or there's a problem with the cable or wiring or whatever. So the PV ISO test and the PV checks are the two big ones that we've seen the massive growth on. But we do power quality. We've got a 1500 volt DC multimeter on there. We do a 1500 volt DC clamp meter as well. So as you know, the more panels, the more voltage. So standard multimeters can't cope. So yeah, it's been the last 3 or 4 months have been massive on growth on solar.
And we're the only ones that have a 1500 volt insulation tester at the minute that's capable of testing 1500 volts live.
Okay.
Most common systems are up to 1000 volts, but now more people are going on to 1500. Main reason is we can increase the voltage, we can decrease the current, get the same power output, but then the components that are part of that system are not as costly.
Yeah.
So more people are looking at 1500 volt systems now for that reason.
Yeah, of course it will be as things are kind of moving on. It's good that you've got that area of the market covered off, so you're kind of backing up and supporting us electricians out in industry with the gear we need to safely commission equipment. Really
and it is an advantage, like Steve says, that particularly the solar testing stuff is coming from Italy. We've got their vast experience, more than we've had here on testing solar PV installations.
Yeah, so it's not a new product you've just invented. This is well-established equipment that's been in use for a number of years, and you're bringing it to the UK market for us to get the benefit of. So it's really good. And again, it follows the similar kind of theme as the TIS MFT Pro software and the way it looks and feels for a user to operate. So I guess as that brand recognition develops, you become like an industry standard of your own, if you like. This is the TIS system. It matches through between the two products.
I mean, the other thing as well is the not just the commissioning equipment, but the maintenance equipment is good because electricians they can sign longer term contracts, because of course when somebody's invested heavily in solar panels, they want to make sure that not just in year 1 but in 2, 3 and ongoing they're getting the return on investment. So we need to check that the panels are performing as they should do. They're not being impaired by moss or by growth or anything else that's not giving the I think they're called prosumers now, the return on investment that they wanted.
Yeah, I mean, this is it. There's the huge area of growth for us as electricians seeing that maintenance aspect. We're seeing it with EVs now. We're getting requests to come and test those. And I know from speaking with Neil, he won't mind me mentioning him, so Neil Bridgman, he's got a contract looking after a railway bridge in London full of solar panels on the roof. With like 50 odd inverters and massive strings, and he's got the issue now of getting that performance for the customer, like you've said, checking that it's working as intended, and they need the instruments to do that. So I'm going to put Neil onto you guys for this stuff. He's definitely going to lap it up, I'm sure. But I mean, it's not just this model stuff. You've got a wide range of gear, right down to your accessories for testing lamps and the voltage indicators. And one of the things that first came into Apprentice 1-to-1 and the support you've given, and you've been huge supporters of Apprentice 1-to-1, I've got to say, was the safe isolation side of things, and the fact you've got a kit there that's relatively low cost. I think one of the lowest cost products in the market with the improving unit inside it is massive for electricians. You're bringing that to us a reasonable prime point, so we can encourage the availability for apprentices to have it in their kits. And I guess that's maybe one of your better sellers, I would guess. Is it a product that you shift a fair volume of?
I mean, firstly, when we first sort of came along with TIS, as I said, back in 2006, this was the first product and first voltage tester we brought to market. And what we've always looked to do is bring things that add value and have extra features and benefits to the users. One of the big things with voltage continuity testers, of course, is it's always the leads that get damaged.
Sure.
We wrap the leads around the unit. That invariably frays at the end. The other thing, of course, is we lift floorboards with that end and open tins of paint.
You've been watching me too much, I think.
So we've got to basically go and buy a voltage tester, just because the leads are damaged. What we did with this is we made it so that you can hang on to the car and you've got to replace the tyres. So that was a nice little thing that people liked and latched onto that. 1000 volts AC DC, true RMS, inbuilt volt stick, da. But yeah, you're right. Not everybody wants to spend upwards of £100 on that sort of tester, so we also look to bring.
I mean, one thing Mark's not mentioned on there, I don't think he did, is that again, BS EN 61243 Part 3 said that all voltage testers had to detect a live supply with or without a battery.
Yes.
So what you find on most conventional voltage testers and our budget range, if you like, is it just lights one light. And the reason why it does that is if you actually went to light all of them, it actually creates a current and can trip the RCD. So that's the only, as we know, voltage and continuity tester that if you took the batteries out and actually went into a socket with it, what was live, all the lights would still light with or without a battery.
Not just the LV light.
Yeah.
So, to tick the box with
I've
the
got you. I've got you. That's interesting.
The other thing that it'll do as well, and we've been asked, especially a lot of the tech talks recently, it'll do a single pole voltage test as well.
Yeah.
So if you hold the AF button down and put that on a metal consumer unit, if you like, it'll tell you obviously if it's live, so you can do a single pole voltage test with it as well.
That's good. So it's like a contact voltage indicator.
You've got
of
it.
Sorts.
Yeah, exactly.
For circulating neutrals, is that the problem?
Yeah, it is. I mean, that's an I didn't know that did that myself because I've got one of those. And one of the things people often ask me when I've demonstrated is the tips on the end. But if you actually unscrew those tips, I've said this to so many people.
Yeah.
There's a smaller tip in there.
Yeah.
It's in the product.
We get that a lot on the
there.
shows. They say, "I love your 859, but these tips are too thick," and they just unscrew them and I go, "I didn't know that."
Every time I share some content on that, I get a comment along those lines. So getting that message out there is a good thing.
Yeah, so as Mark says, I mean, again, not everyone can afford a voltage tester around £100. So what we wanted to do, and especially like you say with Apprentice 121, is to bring out a safe isolation kit that the future of the business can afford. So what we brought out is, again, a lot of people have seen the old proving unit bag, so you can carry that around with you. So you've got your proving unit in there. I mean, we always say that every product has got a feature and benefit. When it comes to a proving unit, let's face it, it's a square box with two holes in with some batteries in the back of it. So it comes down to cost, so we've tried to make that affordable. And then obviously they get a voltage and continuity tester. We also do a voltage only one, so if people don't want continuity, obviously that will be a bit cheaper. And again, they get a lock-off kit, and they get all the various locks and pin-outs and pin-ins and universal locks. And you're looking at around sort of £90-95 for that full kit. Now again, in the industry, a lot of people's proving units are £80 just for a proving unit, and the voltage one's probably more about £80, £75. So we just try to make it affordable for the young lads to get on the ladder.
And importantly, we've not scrimped on the locks either. You'll appreciate this, Mark, that you only get one key, importantly, with the lock, and that has also got its own serial number on it as well. There are lots of shall we call cheaper lock-off kits there that potentially are dangerous because they come with multiple keys, and other keys can open them.
Yeah, I've seen that. Certainly with some of the Amazon kits that I've seen floating around where they come with double keys, or the metal lock is plastic, so it's easy to kind of snip it away and things. So having that as a quality product, and you've not scrimped on that, despite the relatively good value price point, is credit to you.
And obviously, if somebody does get hold of the other key, if there is a duplicate, that means that they can unlock your circuit that you've
It's
locked
not
off.
a safe system of work, so it's really important. It's just one key. Don't lose it. Keep it on your person.
Well, again, people have asked us for coded ones as well, and again, I don't think we'd ever bring out a coded lock. I think I just prefer that we've got one key and that's it. And then you're in charge of one key, and someone else don't know your code on your lock.
That's right.
It's a safe system, isn't it? It's not introducing a potential issue somewhere. One key, one method of operation.
Easy, innit?
It is. It's really simple, and I like how it comes in the bags as well. That you've got all that, because often this kind of gear ends up thrown in a tool bag, can get damaged and broken. So the fact every instrument's got its own little bag is a really good feature. And one of the products I like best of yours, and we've had discussions about this on social media of late, is the AC/DC clamp meter. And again, I mentioned Neil. He's just shared some content on that. I've been using it with his guys. I think that's a really nice product for electricians to have in their kit, especially with all of the introduction of EV and PV and stuff. One tool that can see the AC leakage and the DC leakage is really useful. So have you seen big demand for that? Is that something you're selling a lot of?
We have, and we've had some resistance from it. I think we've seen it on social media where people
didn't want to say it.
People, I had to bring it up. People say that there's no way it can measure AC and DC leakage, and I think we've proven that. And you know, it's a valid question. So we had to prove that it will measure DC leakage. We've done that now. So we have seen, again, there's been a more awareness that actually there is one out there, because we still get asked, do they do a DC leakage? Well, we've had one out for the last 8 months. So AC is still the biggest seller by a long way. But we've seen a lot of demand now with the EV and PV for DC leakage as well.
I think the DC thing as well, it's not just the nuisance tripping that's the problem. Probably the people who are watching and listening will know this, but if we have a pure DC fault on a circuit, and obviously we've got batteries now, we've got batteries in cars, we've got solar panels generating DC, if we have a pure DC fault of more than 6 milliamps, and you've not tested your RDC DD, your pure DC trip, or your 6 milliamp B-type RCD properly, if you've got a problem of more than 6 milliamps DC, it will blind all other RCDs in that circuit, so we've got a potential problem. So it's nice to know whether we have got any DC leakage kicking about as well, not just from a nuisance tripping point of view, but from a blinding of the other RCDs in a circuit point of view as well.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I use with mine is to clamp it onto an install when I'm doing any ICR and just leave it set for maximum recording, so you can see what's going on with the AC and DC, because obviously you test at a point in time.
Yeah.
Fault might not be there, so it's good that that's in the product as well. And it's one of those things where we're installing Type A RCDs now, but people forget it's only really to 6 milliamps, and that's not that much when you've got a fault in some DC equipment. No. So it is important we're checking for this stuff, and the blinding of RCBOs and devices is a hot topic at the minute. So the fact we can measure it is brilliant. Yeah. That's really good.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see that you've kind of again reacted to what industry needs. You seem to be ahead of the curve with that, compared to some of the other competition, I've got to say. So is that your observations from looking at social media and what's going on, or just looking at the trade shows? Where are you picking up on those kind of vibes?
I think it's, I mean, if you look at the 570, the AC/DC earth leakage, it's like, I think because we saw such an increase in EV, and probably not at that stage PV, but we thought, I think we had discussions, and wouldn't it be great if we could have an AC/DC earth leakage like. So it's thinking about what you've got in the range, and thinking about what you could add that actually is going to add a lot of value to what you're doing. So that idea probably come of EV really kicking off, and people wanting to measure DC leakage.
I think the most dangerous word in this industry as well is complacency, and that's what we try not to be. We try not to be complacent. We try to look for the next thing that we can bring to market for everybody's benefit. So it's just, complacency is dangerous, Mark.
I guess that's your history in the industry as well, from CEF and the time at the beginning. You've kind of seen it evolve. It must have changed massively in that period of time, from no testing effectively, as I remember when I first came, and you were lucky to see a tester, to where we are now, where we can monitor and check all this stuff. So keeping ahead of that curve is a hard battle, but it's one you seem to be doing really well with, I've got to say. And
I think it helps from the CF days as well. Is I can put my CF hat on or my wholesale hat on and think, could I have sold that? So I can see one side of the fence, and then I can see the test equipment side of the fence as well, and then putting them both together. But yeah, Mark's absolutely bang on there. That complacency is a dangerous thing.
Sure. And one of the things that I see in your brand is the customer service as well. You're very visible on social media. You're very visible at the trade shows, going off and setting up those stalls and interacting with electricians face to face, and let's be honest, sometimes we don't have the best reputation for being the most reasonable people. So how would you find that, like fronting up to a room full of sparks? Have you got some benefit and enjoyment from that? You've been doing it a number of years.
Yeah, we love it, don't we? Yeah, I must admit we love it. It's actually nice because you can talk technical and they understand it as well. So, again, for the sales lads, no disrespect, they're going out to wholesalers to obviously convince them to stock an item. Obviously, they're not technically trained. They can't know everything about everything that they stock. So it's actually nice to have an interaction with end users and talk technical and talk features and benefits. So the shows have been massive for TIS.
Sorry, Stephen, you mentioned David Savory as well. He got his hands on our MFT Pro, one of the earlier versions, and put quite a damning video on there on certain aspects. But we listened and we changed it and we updated the firmware. And I think now it's his go-to tester.
Yeah, I mean, that just shows, doesn't it, that you get that feedback. I mean, it's not all criticism. If it's fair and reasoned and you can react and get value from it to improve your products, then fair enough. It is a heated environment, I would say. I wouldn't like to rock up onto a stand with a room full of sparks. So credit to you that you're getting benefit from that. And if anyone does want to go and check out these products, you do all the ELEX shows, I think, and
we do
CEF Tech Talks.
So we do ELEX shows this year. We've got them, I think, seven booked in for this year. We do all NAPIT Expos 2023. We're doing all them. We're at Solar and Storage in October. We're at Installers Live in June. We've got CF Live in June. So we've actually had to do a calendar of shows. We've got that many coming this year, and obviously we're on the Tech Talks as we speak with CF as well. So we're very much out there.
Yeah, we've been able to save money on holidays, haven't we?
Yeah.
You're getting a tour with the
we ain't got
UK.
time to go on one.
We can't go on it all.
That's it. You want to get some wholesalers on the Barbados or something in the scheme of things, then you'll get a bit of a holiday out of it. But yeah, no, it's interesting that you're going out and taking that interaction with Sparks. And then again, on social media, I've seen where there'll be discussion around your products. We mentioned the AC/DC clamp meter, that discussion propped up, and you got involved in the thick of it. A lot of brands will run away from that kind of thing. From what I've seen, they don't want that. But you seem to be kind of welcoming it and answering those questions.
Yeah,
I think credit to you.
Yeah, I think it's important. You know, it's. I mean, actually, I look after the social media. We did have someone looking after the social media, but the problem is technical questions were coming in. He were then sending it to me. I were then answering. I just thought, why don't I just do it? So I enjoy it. Yeah, it can be. I think it was last night. It was only 11:15. I was asking a technical question on a Sunday night, but I'd rather go back. And again, that's been a big thing that's come back to us, is that, you know, whatever it seems to be, whatever time it seems to be, you just respond. And we think that, you know, going back to service and backup of the product and what you're doing is just as important as selling it. Without a doubt, you've got to. It's not just about selling it and that's it, forgetting about it. It's the backup, and you've got to be there for people.
Yeah, and if you've got something wrong, you need to know about it as well, don't you? You need to know about it quick.
100%.
Yeah, of course you do, and you've got the repair facility here that we've spoken about already. You do your calibration days at CF, so you're very much involved in the backup of your products as well. You issue that long warranty. I don't think many other manufacturers are standing behind the products like that. So
That's right.
That's really good to see that you are there looking after your customers at the end of the day. You're not just shipping products out the door.
And on the calibers, we've invested in equipment to be able to calibrate torque screwdrivers as well. So
Really?
that's something that we can do out on the road that a lot of people miss that.
Yes.
But we can do torque screwdrivers as well, which really should be calibrated after however many, a million clicks is it or something?
It's something like that. From speaking with Weir, I wasn't aware that you do need to calibrate them so often that they do tend to wander a bit, don't they? So I mean, if you're not really checking that and it's giving you a value that might not be the right value, there's no value in it, is there, at the end of the day? So it's important that we maybe look at that, and it's good you guys are offering it with the Cal Days. I use that facility. It's nice to rock up to the wholesaler with all your test gear, with the torque drivers as well. Now leave it with them for the day and you get it all back done.
The advantage with the torque screwdrivers as well is, of course, if you're going to send them back to us, a large proportion therefore is carriage. The fact that we're on site, we eradicate the carriage content, because torque screwdrivers, you know, you could probably look at buying another one, couldn't you?
Yeah.
If the price ramps up to something unreasonable. But the fact we're on site, we can do it at the right price. You can hang on to your torque screwdriver. There's no carriage involved, and
it's the time as well without the tool.
Yeah.
Because the electricians are generally sat on 2 or 3 torque drivers. It's just the one.
Yeah.
And they want it back to get productive with it. So it's great that you're doing that. I think that's really nice.
The other danger is obviously a carrier losing the box as well. You know, we have had that. You know, where it's supposed to be delivered and it's not, and there could be £1,000 MFT in there. So you're on site, you're there.
Yeah, I mean that's another issue, isn't it? We all see that with the delivery drivers lobbing stuff over fences or not delivering it all. So it's like one of those things. If you can remove them from the equation, I think that's brilliant. So we've seen a shift in the regs as well recently around RCD testing. So we've seen that, and you mentioned about the RDDC side of things with the EV, and it was actually watching one of your presentations that I learnt about that, because I wasn't aware that some of the other test instruments maybe didn't quite do that as was intended with the slow ramping of the DC testing, which the MFT Pro Plus and Pro does. So I think that was quite interesting. But we've seen the change now with the Type A testing and stripping all that away. It's just ×1. Are you going to remove all those features from your test instruments, or are you going to leave them there for us to make use of?
I think what we always say is when the regulation changes, is that's the minimum. So it's the bare minimum that people should do.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's an opinion on it. My opinion would be that if when you were doing an RCD test and you did an auto test and it took 10 minutes, I'd probably just do a ×1.
Yeah.
But I think that, you know, every manufacturer now has got the auto sequence on there, and I know the MFT Pro and the Eco and the Pro Plus is quick. You know, it probably takes you, I don't know, 10, 12 seconds to do a full auto sequence. So again, you're doing the maximum, and again, if I was a contractor, I think I'd like to do the maximum opposed to the minimum. So we've definitely got no changes to get rid of the auto sequence.
I mean, our auto sequence takes it a step further as well. You can actually also include the ramp test on the positive and negative half cycle. So if you're at an installation, it's a good idea to know whether you've got an RCD that's a little bit too sensitive, which the ramp test will tell you. So we can swap it out there and then, rather than waiting for the phone call in the middle of the night or whatever. Let's find out whether the RCD is too sensitive while we're there, and let's sort it there and then.
I think that's a good point, and I know us as electricians, we often are in the middle of this between the manufacturers of some of the RCBOs who were having stuff returned to them and saying it's not faulty, and then the testing companies who were producing the equipment. I think if you're getting an RCD that fails, have a look at that specific literature to the brand of RCBO, because some of them will say you need to test it at a particular value that's not in the auto sequence. I think as long as you're approaching it with that methodology, you're not going to go wrong. I certainly, like you say, I want to do a ramp test. I want to know when it's going out, to be confident that I'm not going to have a callback 20 minutes later because everything's been switched on and it's tripping. So I think still running through that sequence of test is important, and I think the regs have maybe reacted a little bit to some manufacturer pressure, I would say. It's a fair assessment.
I agree.
And I won't take it out with test instruments.
I think the other thing as well, relating to the RCD testing side, I'm probably going to give a trade secret away here. But again, listening to people over the years, what we're doing with our tester, particularly the automatic test, is traditionally when people did an automatic test on their MFT, it was always the times half test, positive and negative, that went first. I think it was somebody back in the day from the NIC said to me, that's not really the way we should be doing it. What we should be doing is we should be doing the times 1 or the times 5 test first to free up any potential stickiness on the RCD.
Makes sense.
So you'll notice on ours we do the times 1 test first to free it up before, and then the times half test comes somewhere into the auto sequence.
That's a good point, because you know for sure consumers aren't pressing that test button very often. So it makes a lot of sense rather than hitting it straight off and maybe getting an issue to give it a little warm up first. It's helpful, isn't it? It's really interesting. So in terms of the test instruments, I've seen the evolution of what's happened, and there's probably changes coming in the future. What do you think this is going at? Who better to ask, really? We're going to look at a single product that can do solar and all the AC and DC combined, or do you think it's going to be split out into separate tools? Is there a direction of travel you think we're going on?
I think the problem with bringing too much together, Mark, and this was the objection when MFTs first came out. The objection will always be, if one part of it goes wrong, I've lost a lot. I can't do anything.
Good point.
So I think bringing too much together is dangerous because of that reason. But I do think that we will see solar testing equipment evolving over the years, where maybe the commissioning tools get merged with the maintenance tools and things like that. But that'll come at a cost. So I think we still need to keep everything split because people have got budgets to work to. But I think as time goes on, for people who've got the deeper pockets, they will be able to buy particular solar equipment to test the lot.
That's such a good point, because I might want to buy a product that's full of features, whereas if there's somebody just working in a domestic home doing the basics, they don't want all that stuff.
No.
And they want to be able to buy within their budget. So I see that. That's a really good point.
It's a little bit like selling an AC clamp meter and somebody's saying, well, why don't we just do an AC DC one? Well, for the people who never want to measure DC, you're paying another £50 or £60 more than you need to. It's a little bit like that.
Yeah. And moving away from the test instrument, you've actually got involved in another area of industry now. You're not happy with just taking over this kind of stuff. You're working with a new brand. So for those who don't know, you're distributing Knipex products.
We do, we distribute Knipex to the electrical wholesale channel in the UK. So we took that on, I think September last year we launched it. They said to us, you need to put in sort of £60,000-70,000 worth of stock. That'll last you 3 months. Within 5 days we'd run out of every line.
No way.
So we didn't have anything in stock after about a week. We're currently at about just over 300 grand of Knipex sat in the warehouse now.
Wow.
So we've gone from an initial 20 SKUs to probably about 110 SKUs now, because people know you do it. People say, oh, I want this, and you didn't do it. So we've added that to the range. So we've made it easy for the electrical wholesale channel to buy Knipex and TIS combined, so they can place orders for both. Obviously, when we're doing calibration days, we support the Knipex sales for them as well. So far so good. It's been a great brand to take on.
Yeah, the issue for Knipex was when Brexit came along. They were shipping from Germany,
right?
So Brexit came along, and obviously a lot of electrical wholesalers, their head offices are not exactly where the branch is. So the stuff was turning up, and the people in the relevant branches, they can't give them a cheque for the VAT and duty on entry to release the goods. So it created all sorts of problems. So we're now that go-between. We do all that, we sort all that. People can combine orders for the test equipment as well as the pliers and things like that. It works well for everyone.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and you've developed the space here. You've expanded. Just to
That's
say,
it.
I mean, when I last visited, I was here installing new EV charge points, but you've added warehouse on at the side now.
Yeah, next door become available, and we thought, why not? So it become at the time where, unfortunately, the packing area you couldn't pack. You was walking sideways down the pallet, so we needed to expand. So, and the trouble is, I think we were discussing earlier, once you get a space, you end up filling it. So we've got probably about 40 pallets next door.
Wow.
And we're just over £1 million of stock at the minute. So it's contributed to it.
It's one of those, and we're seeing this with electricians and the stock we can get for all of our components. I'm sure you've seen it as well with test instruments getting a reliable flow of stock, and it's something we're all still adjusting to. I think it's kind of started with that shit that got stuck. I think I've got what it's called now. And then it was Brexit and COVID and everything, and it just seems to be dragging on, doesn't it? So do you think we'll see an end of that? Are we going to get back to a time where the readily available stuff is there off the shelf, or do you think it's here to stay?
We certainly hope so, because it has been a nightmare. I mean, again, talking about £1 million of stock, we've probably got 2 years of socket testers, where we probably might have had 6 months before. But what we didn't want to do is run out of the standard bits and bobs like test leads and socket testers. Multifunctions are another story with chips and on components and things like that. Our signs from our manufacturers is getting a little easier, but it's nowhere near back to normal as far as the chips and things like that.
We just hope that the easing of the COVID restrictions in the Far East, that should help. Whatever you say, I mean, like we've said, our test equipment, our high-end test equipment is made in Europe, but inevitably the components are coming from the Far East.
Of course.
So hopefully with that easing of their restrictions, that might help.
Yeah, I mean, it's not unique to any kind of sector of industry or even the electrical industry. This is a widespread problem. We've had electric vans on order now for 15 months, and we've had those delivery dates kicked back down the road time after time, and it can get frustrating, but you need to be understanding, I think, that this is a wider problem. It's not on a particular brand or manufacturer or area of industry. It's just what we're dealing with.
Yeah, we try to mitigate with stock.
Yeah.
But there will be a line out there that somebody will order in the next half hour that we won't have.
No, for sure.
But we'll have everything else.
Yeah, we see the same. Like I said, we're waiting on RCBOs from particular brands to finish off jobs, and we've been waiting a good while. And I'm hopeful that that's going to end, but it's something out of our control. And at the end,
I think the signs are not positive, but the signs are better.
Yes. Yeah, that's what we're seeing.
Interesting times for sure. I wanted to say as well, just a huge thank to you guys for supporting Apprentice 1-to-1 right from the start. So this was something I first came out with onto social media, and it was a bit of an unknown, and you were right in there from early on, sending in safe isolation kits and other bits and pieces and sharing that message. And now you're supporting us with the Academy as well, so TIS are helping us with some funding, which is fantastic. And just to put it out there that I'm really appreciative. I know the apprentices and learners who follow are as well. And if you want to check out some of the products TIS have got, I'll drop links in the show notes to this so you can go off and check out their website. And also the YouTube channel, just to mention, you've got some content on there specific to a lot of these products. Obviously I've shared stuff on my YouTube channel, there's David Savoury as well, these are well covered bits of kit. But if you want to go out and learn a bit more about what each of these do, you can go off and check it out on the YouTube channel. Meet the guys at the trade show again. If you've got a calendar and itemised list of stuff, I'll drop that in there. So if people want to go and meet Steve and Mark out on the stands and give them some difficult questions, then you can go off and do that.
Just make sure it's not too early.
Yeah, bring a coffee with you. Is there anything either of you two would like to add before we finish this one?
No. Thank you for your time, and going back to Apprentice 1-to-1, we'll always continue to do that. It's not a short-term fix where after 3 months you've sent a few safe isolation kits and it's all job done. So we'll always back that. We'll always back the future electricians and always help wherever we can. And trying to keep safe isolation price and costs to the bare minimum, so that people can afford it. So
and the other thing is, a lot of this stuff on the face of it is complicated, and we need to see it and have a run through. What we don't just sit in an office. We've got 7 full-time external salespeople out there. So if anybody needs to have a look at any of this stuff, we can get somebody in front of you so you can have a nice touchy-feely with it and a play with the equipment before committing to purchase.
And social media as well, send us questions on there. It's me behind it. So any technical questions or anything that you're not sure about, whatever time, send me a message and we'll reply.
3:30 in the morning, I'll be there.
Hang on.
But no, it's really good, and I think getting the product into people's hands is a good thing to do. It's a big shift from some of the other products that are out there in even the shape and handling of what you're offering, and I found it actually a lot easier to use once you get into the swing of it. So go off to the trade shows, get down to your CEF events, the Cal days, and pick some of this gear up and check it out. thank you all for watching. If you've got any questions around any of this podcast, drop them in the comments below and we'll look out for those to reply. Like I said, links onto TIS will be in the description below, and we'll see you all on the next one. Bye now.
Thank you.
Bye.